Morning, Isaac.
Good morning.
While we let people continue to come in, the presenter of today's activities is a beloved member of the Central Minnesota community and had for a long time been a resident of St. Cloud. Becky Holen-Berchowski has prepared a program for us today. We are going to be saying some prayers, and largely we're going to be opening it up to you for your recollections and your memories and your sharing, whichever it may be. If you have a story that you'd like to tell about Betty, by all means share it. If there's a song that you want to sing, share it. If you want to chant, if you want to present poems, anything at all. This is all about rejoicing in her life, her luminance, her joy, her radiance. All of the gifts that she brought to us is stellar, and we want to make sure that she's remembered in our hearts and will never leave. Her impact on Central Minnesota has been immense. Every person who she met, she made a friend. And I think this is a great way for us to honor her and her memory and to share in that experience. Baha'is, as you know, have a viewpoint about the next life, that it is as different from this world as this world is to the womb of the mother. We can't really know about what the next world is, but we are promised that it is an ocean of light, that it is glory and luminance and blessings and bounties as we all continue on our spiritual journey towards God. And so as we proceed with that, because we have so many people in our room, I've got a very large screen, and I've got 3 different screens by which to focus through. You may choose to do speaker view on your window so that as people pop up, they will take prominence on your screen, and it'll be easier for you that you don't have to hunt and find who is looking. So a speaker view would be very beneficial to help with the program. And I'm going to turn the program at this point over to Becky shortly, but I'm going to open with a prayer, which I think speaks to us just a little bit about our spiritual growth. After this, then I'll turn it over to Becky, and she has a lovely program in store for us. And then after that, we'll open it up to social and sharing. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing today. This is from the writings of Baha'u'llah. From the sweet-scented streams of thine eternity, give me to drink, O my God. And of the fruits of the tree of thy being, enable me to taste, O my hope. From the crystal springs of thy love, suffer me to quaff, O my glory. And beneath the shadow of thine everlasting providence, let me abide, O my light. Within the meadows of thy nearness, before thy presence, make me able to roam, O my beloved. And at the right hand of the throne of thy mercy, seat me, O my desire. From the fragrant breezes of thy joy, let a breath pass over me, O my goal. And into the heights of the paradise of thy reality, let me gain admission, O my adored one. To the melodies of thy dove of oneness, suffer me to hearken, O resplendent one. And through the spirit of thy power and thy might, quicken me, O my provider. In the spirit of thy love, keep me steadfast, O my succorer. And in the path of thy good pleasure, set firm my steps, O my maker. Within the garden of thine immortality, before thy countenance, let me abide forever, O thou who art merciful unto me. and upon the seat of thy glory establish me, O thou who art my possessor. To the heaven of thy loving kindness lift me up, O my quickener, and unto the day star of thy guidance lead me, O thou my attractor. Before the revelations of thine invisible spirit summon me to be present, O thou who art my origin and my highest wish, and unto the essence of the fragrance of thy beauty, which thou wilt manifest, cause me to return, O thou who art my God.
Oh,
Potent art thou to do what pleaseth thee. Thou art verily the most exalted, the all glorious, the all highest. Again, thank you all for joining us. I would ask that you put yourselves on mute unless you're planning on talking. That way the program will flow through just a little bit better. So put yourself on mute if you're not planning on talking. And at this point, I'll turn the program over to Becky. Becky, go ahead.
hi. I have a selection of prayers and readings, and followed by some music. And after that, feel free to say more prayers before other shares. The first one I have is a hidden words that is so appropriate to Betty. And I would like Barbara Zavrula to please say that one. And the first, after that, there are two prayers for the departed. Jerry, would you say the first one, please? And let's see who is on my screen. Jennifer, the second prayer. After that, I can't see the screens, so pop in at will, and just take your time so that we can think as we read. So here we go. Is it big enough for people?
Yes.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Barb.
O Son of Spirit, my first counsel is this: possess a pure, kindly, and radiant heart, that thine may be a sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting.
O my God, O thou forgiver of sins, bestower of gifts, dispeller of afflictions, verily, I beseech thee to forgive the sins of such as have abandoned the physical garment and have ascended to the spiritual world. O my Lord, purify them from trespasses, dispel their sorrows, and change their darkness into light. Cause them to enter the garden of happiness. Cleanse them with the most pure water, and grant them to behold thy splendors on the loftiest mount. Baha.
O my God, O thou forgiver of sins and dispeller of afflictions, O thou who art the pardoner, the merciful, I raise my suppliant hands to thee, tearfully beseeching the court of thy divine essence, to forgive through thy grace and clemency thy handmaiden who hath ascended unto the seat of truth. Cause her, O Lord, to be overshadowed by the clouds of thy bounty and favor. Immerse her in the ocean of thy forgiveness and pardon, and enable her to enter that sanctified abode, thy heavenly paradise. Thou art verily the mighty, the compassionate, the generous, the merciful. Abdul Baha.
O Son of Being, thy paradise is my love. Thy heavenly home, reunion with me. Enter therein, and tarry not. This is that which hath been destined for thee in our kingdom above and our exalted dominion.
Blessed is the soul which, at the hour of its separation from the body, is sanctioned from the vain imaginings of the peoples of the world. Such a soul liveth and moveth in accordance with the will of its Creator, and entereth the all highest paradise. The maids of heaven, inmates of the loftiest mansions, will circle around it, and the prophets of God and his chosen ones will seek its companionship. With them, that soul will freely converse and will recount unto them that which it hath been made to endure in the path of God, the Lord of all the worlds.
To consider that after death, the death of the body, the spirit perishes, is like imagining that a bird in a cage will be destroyed if the cage is broken, though the bird has nothing to fear from the destruction of the cage. Our body is like the cage, and the spirit is like the bird. If the cage becomes broken, the bird will continue and exist. Its feelings will be even more powerful, its perceptions greater, and its happiness increased.
O son of spirit, burst thy cage asunder, and even as the phoenix of love, soar into the firmament of holiness. Renounce thyself, and filled with the spirit of mercy, abide in the realm of celestial sanctity.
ای پسر روح قفس بشکن قفس بشکن و چون همای عشق به هوای قدس پرواز کن و از نفس بگذر و با نفس رحمانی در فضای قدس ربانی بیارام.
Why shouldst thou be sad and heartbroken? This separation is temporal. This remoteness and sorrow is counted only by days. Thou shalt find him in the kingdom of God. Thou wilt attain to the everlasting union. Physical companionship is ephemeral, but heavenly association is eternal. Whenever thou rememberest the eternal and never-ending union, thou wilt be comforted and blissful.
I have made death the messenger of joy to thee. Wherefore dost thou grieve? I made the light to shed on thee splendor. Why dost thou veil thyself therefrom?
As to the question whether the souls will recognize each other in the spiritual world, this fact is certain. For the kingdom is the world of vision. Things are visible in it. For all the concealed realities will become disclosed. How much more the well-known souls will become manifest, the mysteries of which man is heedless in this earthly world. Those will he discover in the heavenly world, and there will he be informed of the secret of truth. How much more will he recognize or discover persons with whom he hath been associated? Undoubtedly, the holy souls who find a pure eye and are favored with insight will, in the kingdom of lights, be acquainted with all mysteries and will seek the bounty of witnessing the reality of every great soul. Even they will manifestly behold the beauty of God in the world. Likewise will they find all the friends of God, both those of the former and recent times, present in the heavenly assemblage.
We come onto this planet only once. Our life here is like the baby in the womb of its mother, which develops in that state what is necessary for its entire life after it is born. The same is true of us. Spiritually, we must develop here what we will require for the life after death. In that future life, God, through his mercy, can help us to evolve characteristics which we neglected to develop while we were on this earthly plane.
the Queen of Carmel reigns. She reigns majestically. Cry out, O Zion. Cry out to your Lord. Cry out, O Zion. Circle round in adoration. Circle round your Lord. Unto God, the Lord of lords, belong kingdoms of earth and heaven. Land and sea, rejoice this day, the day of revelation. Cry out, O Zion. Cry out to your Lord. Cry out, O Zion. Circle round in adoration. Circle round your
Robed in white and crowned in gold, she stands for unity. God will sail his ark on deep, as mentioned in the book of names. Cry out, Zion. Cry out to your Lord. Cry out, O Zion. Circle round in adoration.
Circle round your Lord.
Cry out, O Zion. Cry out to your circle round in adoration.
Circle round your Lord.
Circle round in adoration.
Circle round
Becky, that was just lovely. Thank you for that. At this point, the program is now opened to remembrances and sharing. And I'll start with an observation that just occurred yesterday. My wife, Joan, and I were visiting with Vern and helping with the funeral arrangements. And Vern disclosed that Betty, who served for many years as treasurer on the local spiritual assembly here in St. Cloud, was not good with numbers, and she struggled with accounting. And the accounting duties of a treasurer is many, because you're reporting not only at every feast, but you're reporting at every LSA meeting. And Vern said that she was not good with math or accounting or numbers, which I never knew. And so it was kind of fun to learn I always observed her to have so many gifts, and she seemed to do everything so effortlessly and with such joy and radiance. It never occurred to me that this was a struggle for her. So I'll leave that observation to you, and let's move on to anybody else who would like to share.
If I may, sorry, I'm trying to hold it together. Thank you, everyone. This is already beautiful. This is going to be beautiful. She truly loved each and every one of you. She cared about you. She remembered all of you fondly. There were countless phone calls back to me, my family, recounting all of your stories and your adventures and where you've gone to, what's happening. And that was such a source of joy to her, to remember all of you in her prayers, in her stories. And she was so devoted to you, this faith, to this region. We tried as we could to pull her to the West Coast, but she was so devoted to you. And she was a soaring tree, but her roots were firmly established in the Midwest. So, and that strength, even though she was a small frame, her tree grew very tall. We were recently driving, and we were listening to some talks from Tom Price. And now I'm realizing maybe we shouldn't have. The secret to a good life is to remember that we will all die. Secret to happiness and joy is to remember that we leave this world at some point. And what is it we're taking in our suitcase? What is it we're packing to get ready? And I'm learning so much from her that, and I love to hear your stories. And she's still a mystery to me. I'm discovering that. And I think she packed pretty well.
This is Steve Milston from North Carolina. I want to thank whoever sent me the information. I'm not in Minnesota anymore, but like Betty, I think my roots are still there. I remember her from summer school. The Minnesota Baha'i Summer School really wasn't a summer school without Betty being there. She was the presence, and I was talking to my son yesterday and let him know that she had passed. And we were talking about how Betty had a really quirky sense of humor. And it was one of the things that really endeared her to people, because she made everyone feel at ease. There wasn't a formality, but a very, very significant depth. I have a lot of other stories, but I'm going to leave them to the rest of you to remember her. But my love to the family, and I guess I feel like a part of the family, even though it's not a blood relationship.
This is Dan Darling. I'm in New Hampshire. You all had many, many more moments with Betty than I did, but I met her. She was a big part of my life the first year I was Baha'i. And despite, I didn't have a lot of time, like I said, I didn't spend a lot of moments with Betty, but those moments are burned into my memory. She was that bright. She was, and I thank you, Jerry, for sending me the notice of this, because it was perfect timing. So anyway, I have two stories I want to share, because this was just so wonderful. That first spring that I was by, I went over to the Bartos family house and had cattails, which I'd never had before, and I still haven't, even though every spring I think I should go out and get some cattails. And the other was when I got married in 1982, the Bartos family packed a wedding gift of canned goods with the labels taken off, which was just an example of that, of Betty's nature. So, and it was just wonderful. I see a lot of faces I haven't seen in many years. I want to send my love to the whole Bartos family, and thank you for inviting me.
Hey, Dan, this is Vern.
Hi, Vern.
We still have cattails in the freezer.
I love it.
This is Margaret Hetman. And in 2001, Betty sent out an email asking if anyone would like to go to the Baha'i World Center for a 5-day visit. There were 2 holy days in there. So I was the only one that replied, I guess. And we went together and we had a very spiritual and special time. We stayed in an apartment with you and Nagar, Ethan. Remember that? And then afterwards, we had a very funny and adventurous time going to the Dead Sea. Nadia was just finishing up her service there, and Afife, you were there, and it was a funny trip afterwards, full of laughter and joy, just like Betty always was.
This is Karen Jentz and Jeff from Iowa now. I can't begin to start sharing memories, but there are just so many that have flooded, including seeing Vern there on the couch. And last night I was thinking about your fast breakfast omelets, and I can still taste them. And I just like, and there's Vern. When can we come see you? We're vaccinated now. But, and I just think about a Yamaha's where she would have spent all year going to Savers, and then she put these incredible things on, and the right things for everyone would be there. I still have a sunflower light switch, for example, and Gretchen still has these incredible the napkin holders that I won't giving back to her. Now she's going to bring it up. She's here too. But yeah, I guess I think of her most as this incredible teaching partner. We went on so many spiritual adventures in St. Cloud. We went to Eid and prayed together, where a lady pulled my dress down even though it was past mid-calf. It was like, oh, I guess I wasn't modest enough. And we just had so much fun. And there's just so much joy in thinking of her singing in the next world and joining us now. And Joel, you have to keep that music tradition going, but I know you already know. So yay, Joel. He's got even CDs out you can get and buy. And so it's my plug for Joel. 3 of them now. I see you.
Hi, I think that's my cue. Or maybe that's Joel's cue. Joel, did you have something to say? Okay.
No, go ahead, Jen. Karen, yeah.
Gretchen, I'm Gretchen. Hi, Joel. Hi, everyone. Hi, Ian. Hi, Vern.
Blair's here.
Vern and Ethan and everybody that loves Betty. She was just a fearless peace warrior, and I have to thank her because the moment I heard about her passing, I know it was her that just made a miracle happen and helped me close a chapter of my life I needed to so that I can get on with what she would support me in doing. I have a really kind of a major opportunity career-wise, and I think she's guiding me from the other side. And yeah, the speech and drama coach position is open at the high school, and I'm on the committee to honor the teacher of the year, who I am creating a celebration for with the committee, and also a Friend of Education Award, who I am also nominating, Jewel McDonald and the teacher Nate Watson. And on Friday, we lost a colleague. And so the timing with Betty and Pam Mitchell's from the high school's death is just powerful, because now our high school has to come together and, honor Pam at the same time as this memorial for Betty. And it's just, I just know Betty's spirit is all being inclusive and loving. And, I know she's guiding me in my, my life with Malachi on our own, finally, like we wanted to be, and helping me do what my purpose here for serving the cause is. And so I just have to thank her, because when I heard about it, I mean, it just, at that moment, there was closure with my son's father. So it was just too powerful for that not to be Betty, assistance. And I just have to honor her for her just selfless, loving, kind nature. She really, really lived Abdu'l-Baha's let your heart burn with loving kindness for all whom I cross your path. She just lived it. She lived it to the umpteenth degree, and really inspired us all to just have loving and kind and just hearts just full of love, and spread that to just, I think, so many people. I just love Betty so much.
Hi, I'm Shireen Akavan Ganili, and I grew up in Alexandria, and we were the only Baha'is for a great distance. St. Cloud was the closest, and our family was always so happy when Betty would walk through the door with her huge smile and her big blue eyes. And I still, to this day, anytime I walk by a cattail, I remember how delicious those were. Dan, she made those for us too. And my sister and I were just talking about them when we were taking a walk the other, I think it was like 4 months ago. And we're like, remember when Betty brought those and they were so delicious? We got to figure out how to do that. And I can't step out my front door and look at my linden tree without hearing Betty's sweet voice saying, "You can make a wonderful tea with that." So I think of her all the time, and she just still brings joy to my life every day, because when I see cattails or a linden tree, she made everything fun and rich and beautiful. So Joel and Ethan and Vern, I am so sorry for your loss. She was just so loved. She just lit up a room. She was like a little nuclear bomb going off everywhere she went with her love and joy. So my condolences. I hope all the love that we have for Betty brings you peace, and I know she brings you joy, because she brings all of us joy, and we didn't get to see her half as much as you guys did.
Thank you. This is wonderful so far. And for those that have heard about cattails and linden trees so far, Betty read Yule Gibbons' Stalking the Wild Asparagus, and one or two other books by Yule Gibbons, I do believe, when I was really young. And so Mom and I was an only child for 9 years. So Betty and I would go out into the forest. We lived next to a woods when I was growing up. And we'd go out and get the basswood, the cattails, the milkweed. You need 4 things off of milkweed, by the way. And all the chamomile, the catnip, the mint, etc. Like 15 different teas. And we'd go stalking the wild forest, wild foods. Very good.
Yeah.
Am I unmuted, Ron? Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Joan Collins Marat from St. Cloud, and I'm married to Ron, and he had talked about Betty's willingness to accept any challenge. And actually, Betty and I became Baha'is the same year, and it was 1976, I think. And Betty was, maybe 10 years older, 15 years older than me. And I was 20. And eventually I got engaged to Ron. And Betty was the one who sat me down and gave me the talk, the marriage talk. And very honestly and openly and without shame, just talked me through the honeymoon. And I was pretty naive. So it was such a sweet thing for her to do. And with my own mother, I don't think it ever occurred to her that it might be helpful for someone to, and Vern, actually, I think you talked with Ron, and it just was something that was really special. And I'll always be grateful to her for.
Betty and Vern lived in a almost mythic country farmhouse in Minnesota, in central Minnesota. This, by the way, is Ian Gents. I'm in Colorado. And I'd like to share the lesson that her life continues to teach through this anecdote of the time they spent on these incredible details in this house and the commitment to this land and this space. And the house, some of you know, ended up burning down. But the amount of grace and joy that Betty showed in spite of that incredible challenge, and Vern and Ethan and Joel, no doubt, teaches so much grace, almost like a mandala. It's there and then it's not. And that's just one small way that her life truly continues to teach these incredibly deep lessons about groundlessness and about facing the unknown. She really did that in a really wholehearted and beautiful and joyful way. And I wanted to share that.
I'd like to add the devotionals that she organized were just so more than rich. They were just powerful. And I'm going to look back on those and see how I can incorporate them in my devotionals in her honor. And I really appreciate the reminder of her just selfless and faith she had in that it all is gonna all be okay, and she just spread that joy and that faith to everyone.
I just wanted to this is Jerry. For years and years, Betty and I were the Stearns County Baha'is before the fire that Ian was just referring to. So I go back just really a long time with Betty, but I've seen her out at Bohemian Acres, and also seen her so joyous having moved to St. Cloud and experience serving on an assembly and growing in those ways. But all of us, I think, all of us on on the screen have probably seen her many times during the daytime. You know, we all can act and perform when we're awake, daytime. But what I remember most about Betty was the way she hosted the middle of the night holy days, Ascension of Abdu'l-Baha and Ascension of Baha'u'llah. I would set the alarm and do everything possible to try to get myself awake. And sometimes I didn't always do it, but I really tried most of the time. And I remember I'd jump in my car and I'd be half sleeping, half awake as I was driving either out to the farm or then moving into St. Cloud. And then I would get there and I'd see all these lights on around her house. And she's got wonderful readings planned, and sometimes with, I don't know the exact term for these bells, but Buddhist bells in the middle of the night. And it was just the most incredible experience. And once I got there, it was like, I know why I'm here. Betty's just going to make this so marvelous. And anyway, so those of you that never got to see her in the middle of the night, she was just as awesome then. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to mention, many of you have referred to Joel and Ethan and Ver. Let's not forget Darian. I'll never forget Darian. In our most darkest time, Darian offered to construct Jacob's coffin, and he's actually doing the same for Betty. But they're just an amazing family, all of them. Thank you.
So I just wanted to add to everything. Jerry, those middle of the night programs were so incredible, and it really they really emphasized Betty adding sensory touches, engaging the senses in everything she planned. And I remember one of those middle of the night things, she would bring out items that illustrated what was being talked about in the readings. When I was talking to our daughter Angela about Betty's passing, and Angela said, well, who will make sumac tea for us? There were just so many things, and it was so enthralling to hear Ron say that Betty was not good with numbers, because I often have found that people that are so gifted in music naturally are good in math. I don't know if it's the same muscle, but the way Betty was able to do some things with music that seemed like a mental gymnastic kind of thing. I don't even know how to describe the things she would have us do. People chiming in at different times. It wasn't a round, it was more complicated than a round, but she was just so creative and playful and giving. And the last thing I wanted to say, the readings and the music were so incredible. And there's one additional prayer I would refer people to. It's in the youth section, and it's that prayer that said that she may, even as a nightingale of the rose garden of mysteries, warble melodies in the Abha kingdom in the most wondrous tones, thereby bringing happiness to everyone. And that is definitely Betty, bringing happiness to everyone. And the last thing I want to say is sometimes I channel Betty and I will say, oh, anywho, I don't know if you all remember saying that, but.
Betty was a person who always had her face wreathed in smiles. She was always happy and joyous. Baha'u'llah said he loved for people especially, one type of person Baha'u'llah loved were those people who were always happy. And Bette definitely was an example of that kind of person. She saw the positive in everybody. She was the epitome of friendliness. We worked together intimately for the last 5 years. She helped launch when we had the 5-year plan gathering. Bette was one of the people that helped launch our cluster. And we have worked together since that time intimately. She was not only the treasurer of the LSA of St. Cloud, but she kept the stats for our cluster meticulously. I relied on her for details. I depended on her. She also was really good at writing. She wordsmithed and checked all of my correspondence. We probably communicated more than 2 or 3 times each week. Every reflection meeting, she was there. She served on the bicentenary committee group with me to do the Bob's bicentenary of the Baha'u'llah's bicentenary and the Bob's bicentenary. And that group transformed into the Momentum Committee. And she served and was always at every single meeting on time and with smiles. Every activity, she was there with literature. She had beautiful tablecloths, little trinkets, and she made every gathering even more special. She was very deepened in the faith. She could pull up writings. She knew a number of writings by memory, and she had an indomitable spirit. She made friends easily and told people about Baha'u'llah all the time. She was a teacher of the cause. She even dug up flowers from her garden to sell and to raise money for the fund. She held a devotional gathering for years, and it really was exceptional. I attended a number of them, and she would have special music, writings. She even had special coffee cups that if you picked a coffee cup, she would tell you what kind of person you were like based on the coffee cup that you chose. She started a Butler Park group that started last year to help bring unity and justice for people of the African American race, and it will continue in her name. I often thought in my private thoughts, if she moved away or something happened to her, what would we do without her? How many people it would take to replace all the things that Bette did? She is a treasured, devoted handmaiden of Baha'u'llah. I know they are rejoicing in the next world.
Thank you, Leah. I'll add a little lighter. I actually knew Bette since I was 8 years old. She was in college and she came and lived with my family, who in exchange for room and board during college, she took care of my brothers and I, and she gave me piano lessons after school. And I wasn't a very good student, but she was a really great teacher. Oh, but one thing that my brother and I, what we would do is she was dating Vern at that time. And Vern, I think I've already told you this story, but my brother and I would, after we were put to bed, and we would sneak down the staircase and we would watch Bette and Vern kiss in our front hallway. And so I think Vern knows that. I told Bette that, but I always felt a little guilty about doing that, but we sure had a lot of fun doing that. Anyway, after Bette graduated from college, we went our separate ways, really. And when I was 18, I became a Baha'i and moved back to St. Cloud, and Todd and Allison were living in St. Cloud at that time.
And I hadn't stayed in touch with Betty for some years. And then all of a sudden she and Vern were in the Newman choir and also the Catholic Visitor. And she decided to do an interview about the Baha'i Faith. And so as a result of that, and knowing Vicki and Allison and some other Baha'is, and I know I'm leaving some Baha'is out, but she investigated the faith then and became a Baha'i, which was just kind of amazing, you know, that we had those early beginnings and then reappointed later on. But we will miss her so much. There's such a big hole now here without her.
Another memory I have is like, when I would go to her house, I would never be bored because there's so many games and interesting stuff from all around the world that you could just like explore and learn about. She was always saying like, or she always had a way of like keeping us entertained and laughing and happy and yeah, it's pretty good.
No, it's pretty cool. As a grandma, you know, especially of 3 grandkids all together, it's quite a job. You realize that now when you're growing up, all 3 of us were pulling her in different directions. We all had our needs and wants. And she was always there, tending to everything, like entertaining us. And like, because she was the life of the party whenever she came over. And she used to come over a lot. COVID kind of threw a monkey wrench in that. But she, on top of that, it was so cool. Whenever she would come to our house, she would completely change it by the time she left. She would organize everything. I don't know if any of you guys have seen her house, but how meticulous and like regal and organized everything is. Like in a matter of weeks, she could turn our like relatively big house with all these nooks and crannies, and it was spotless everywhere. It was amazing. And I mean, it's kind of hard to say, but like you having her in your life constantly, you kind of like having this amazing person and amazing presence, it starts to feel normal. And then you kind of take it for granted, and then you don't realize when it's gone. The incredible presence she had in our family.
Grammy would come and visit us in Wisconsin and Seattle with her luggage full of joy and her heart overflowing with love and admiration and kindness. Truly, when Leah was talking, my heart was just jumping out of my chest. I was so she would come here, she would never miss a piece. She would come all the way to Washington and she'd be worried, I have to go to an LSA meeting with her little phone. She was not tech savvy, but she was, you know, she would make up for that in everything else, in the breadth of her knowledge. And, you know, many people have this knowledge, but it's like, can you live the life? You can know about the life, but can you live the life? That's much harder. It's the being and the doing that she exemplified. Now, when I reflect back, well, every time she came, I says, look at her. We talk about children's classes. If I would ever ask her, Betty, can you help with children's classes this week? And my assistant didn't show up. She would transform into a child and relate to them with love. I would say, you know, I have to help the kids memorize this quote, and I have no song for it. And the children resonate with songs. But I have to go to work tomorrow. Can I just leave you with this quote? See what you can come up with. And to this day, you know, I hear her singing the one that said, the supreme need for humanity is
cooperation and reciprocity.
It will live through them. This is Betty's signature that will go through for generations in Washington and in other places. She would come to summer school, the Washington summer school. tons of people. She didn't know anybody, but she was a beaming light. And anybody that heard about Betty coming, they were like, we want a piece of her. Can she come to our house? Can we make dinner for her? Can she go? Sorry, she's only coming here for a week. She's all mine. I mean, and yes, how much we think about being and doing. Yes, the master always, always, as our example, we read about him. The first thing he would tell others, even if it was a language barrier or people he didn't know, he would say, are you happy? Welcome, welcome. And he would bring them tea and he would serve them. That's what Betty did. He would come, and even if there was a feast with a bunch of Persians, and she was the only, big blue-eyed, blonde-haired, central Minnesotan there, she would come and she would beam with light and love, and she would start singing these songs, and all these Persians, it would just cross over all, like, this is the universal language, is the joy, is your spirit. It has no culture. It has no boundaries. It flies, it reaches, and it will leave an indelible mark no matter where she went. So I'm very moved by her, that truly there's very few that walk the walk. And so now, as we read these quotations, reminding us that in the next world, they are in the presence of the manifestations of God, conversing freely and talking about what they have endured for the faith. Betty has a lot to say. And I know that the master is holding her hand and smiling at her. I know she's so happy. And the master is asking her, well done, telling them, well done. So I'm sad, but I'm happy for her. She has attained, she's home, she served, she gave. And now when we remember her, it's our turn. It's our life. What are we gonna bring? Are we gonna be constrained by petty things in this world, like culture or language? Or are we gonna reach every heart? I'm a Bartos because of her. It was a summer school, and we were supposed to be, they had asked if I could volunteer to be a youth chaperone for the girls. And and very little details given, and they said there's a youth named Ethan out there in St. Cloud in charge of chaperoning the boys, And I'm a planner, I need to organize, I need to know ahead of time, but nobody was telling me anything, and this was the day off, it was summer school, and I was anxious and I was worried, like the summer school is gonna start, and nobody, and what's the program? And I walked in the cabins, and I to this day remember that red door, and there was the first thing we saw was a little table selling Baha'i books. And she was standing behind it, and she was the bookstore lady, of course, because she's always serving. Whenever you want to know where's Betty, she's serving somewhere. And I said, hello, excuse me, my name is Negar, and I'm looking for someone by the name of Ethan. I'm supposed to be working with him as a chaperone for the youth. And I never will forget this face. She just lit up. The blue eyes got big and there was light coming off of her. She said, well, that's my son. And I was like, I used to think, wow, what's up with this lady? And but she was just so pure. She was so pure. Like the light just came from her. I felt her. I just fell in love with her from the first time I saw her, And she was so proud to show me her son, and her son was just like her, And so anyways, Betty is our angel now. I talk too much.
I gotta go to school.
Hello, this is this is Sarv Misarian from. I currently live in Cambridge, Minnesota. I share a lot of everything everyone's saying here. About the cattails, the sumac, and the devotionals. All of those things are also part of some of my memory. I came here in 2017 from California, and right away, Betty told me a lot about the weather. She said what she kind of, her and Vern, when I went to their house, I think it was like before it snowed, because I came here in August of 2017. And I went and visited them many times around then, and they told me what to expect and what to wear, what to have in my car for safety during the winter. And I remember her text messages were beautiful, very poetic about the seasons and the colors of the trees, the way the sun was gonna set in winter, and all of these beautiful imagery that she was so kind enough to text me personally, and I never asked for it. She's definitely gonna be missed. I know, like everyone said here, she's in a better place, and with even better company. And it's a sad news, but also joyful that she's in the next life. I interviewed her on my channel, on my YouTube channel, Elevated and Meaningful, about the bicentenary, which I'm very glad I have that memory with her, that I can watch and remember her presence, and you all can too. And yeah, I really enjoyed her as well, and we have had some great times together, and it's sad again, but I'm glad we're remembering her.
My name is Blair Nichols, and I only came in contact with Betty since she was in her medical crises. My friend and sister Karen Gentz asked me if I would pray and ask my friends to pray. And so we did. We had devotionals and a variety of them. And we would remember her and pray for her, though we didn't know all of these things. And at this point, Karen asked me if I would sing a prayer or sing something. And she asked me to sing something happy because she was so happy, such a happy person. And I told her I would pray for inspiration. And the only thing I came up with is a healing prayer. And it's a rendition that a young lady wrote about 1973 in Kansas City. So you might never have heard of it or not heard it before, but I'll try to sing it as happy as I can, okay? Thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing and my succor both in this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all bountiful, the all knowing, the all wise. Thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing and my succor both in this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all bountiful, the all knowing, the all wise, the all knowing, the all wise, the all knowing, the all wise.
Thank you, Blair. This is Michelle in St. Paul, and I wanted to thank all of the Bartos family and all the Baha'i family for bringing a ton of healing to my life. The day Betty passed, let me see if I can share a screen. I was at a memorial and I went to my ex-sister-in-law's house and I followed Betty's example. Betty is always joyful and radiant because her and her family have been through a lot. And I saw this little Mexican doll that my sister-in-law had. And when she took it off the shelf and moved it from one place to another so she could put the pictures up of her father-in-law who had just passed, I realized it was a bird cage. You know, grieve not for this broken winged bird. And Betty and Vern share a loss of a daughter that's in the Abha kingdom. And we have all lost people who are in the Abha kingdom. But when you know that life is a fleeting moment and you know it can be taken in an instant, you beat your wings a little bit harder and the song of your voice is a little bit stronger because you don't know the day or the hour. And I just encourage all the friends to remember how thin this veil is right now at this time, and that anything that we call upon in the kingdom has extreme strength and power. And anything that we do or say or recite or prayer in her honor will be blessed by leaps and bounds. I am so blessed to be welcomed into their home when I was in college. When I found the faith, I have been in Peru and I had a spiritual mother who served on the NSA. I had no idea what that was because I was a St. Benny's born and raised Catholic. And I came back and I'm like, I don't know if I want to be part of this cult. And thank God, Jerry, when I called the Stearns County line, he answered the phone, Jerry, and said he was taking me to a holy day. And Jacob went missing. And that very next morning, like that evening he was taken, Jerry took the time and he had picked up the phone and I don't know how he got a hold of me at St. Ben's, you know, before cell phones, and said, hey, I'm really sorry, I can't take you to this holy day, but he had already arranged with Betty a ride, and here, this, you know, this is her car, this is her phone number, she'll be here at this time and she'll pick you up. And she did that for me and then welcomed me into her family and her home. And I try to parent the way I saw her parent. I try to teach in the faith by being like Abdul Baha, by being that pure hollow reed, like the cattails. And to remember that if I cry, it's tears of joy, and it isn't sadness, it's tears of joy that she has been a part of my life. And I live 3 blocks from the Sokol Hall, the Czechoslovakian, I'm in the Bohemian neighborhood here in St. Paul. So I feel her presence. I was just thinking of the dances and the dresses, and there's some booyahs and things going on around here at this time in the spring. So I'm hoping she's celebrating in the next world. Thank you. Love to all of you.
Well, in my faith tradition, I'm a member of the Baha'i Faith, And we have this concept, and it's not just the Baha'i concept, but there's a concept of intercession where we can pray to the souls in the next world to assist us in this world. And you know what? I didn't give Betty even a moment's break. As soon as she passed, I started praying to Betty to help our community. It's called Minnesota Cluster 20. It's a grouping that the Baha'i community has, that they work together to help promote the unity of mankind. So this Minnesota Cluster 20, that's where Betty lived. So my first prayers, and ever since I've been praying, I've added her to my intercession list. So I call on Jacob Wetterling, I call on Bette Bartos now, and then I call on other Baha'is that I've known that have gone to the next world to assist us to help create a better community here in Minnesota Cluster 20. So I gave her no rest whatsoever. She got there. First thing I said, Betty, you got to help us now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Roya Akavan, and I did not have many opportunities to spend time with Betty, but the short bursts of time that I was honored to spend with her, I noticed immediately that she was one of those rare souls who was connected to the love and light in the Abha kingdom at all times. And that always came through her. And that was the reason for her joy and her ability to spread it to everyone she met. And I also was, really honored, really, to be asked by her to chant a prayer at a recent prayer gathering, interfaith prayer gathering. And I know she's here with us because I feel her presence, and I would like to chant a Persian prayer for the departed in her honor. Wallahu ta'ala Parvardigara Amurzigara Nafse Nafisi Bimalakut Shahud Suud Namud و از خاکدان فانی به جهان جاودانی شتافت میهمان جدید است عزیز فرما بنده قدیم است خلعت بدی عطا کن ای بی نیاز بیامرز و بنواز و به خلوتگاه راز راه ده و در محفل تجلی همدم و دمساز نما تویی دهنده و بخشنده و مهربان و تویی آمرزنده و نوازنده و توانا اینه
This is Julie and Mike Corkill Bumgars. I'm sorry that my camera isn't working. I thought I had a unique story to share about cattails, but obviously there's been a lot of people who have had cattails from Bette. I do have one story. She came to visit us one time and we had just picked up a new puppy, and the puppy was part Sheltie. And we hadn't had a name for it yet. And so Bette looked at the puppy and said, I think that puppy should be Cassiopeia, named after the constellation. And so that became the name of our dog. So every time we said Cassiopeia, it made us think of Bette. I just wanted to share that every time she stepped up to a microphone, my heart skipped a beat because I knew that it was going to be filled with joy as soon as her mouth was opened. I wish we would have had more time with her in the last 10 years, but we've been traveling all over. I miss all of you from Minnesota. Our hearts are still with you. Thank you.
This is Malcolm and Mariani. We are from St. Cloud, and we have been here for about a little over 20 years, 21 years now. And we know Bette for almost most of that time, so 19, 20 years. We have seen her sing at Newman Center sometimes, along with when Vern was conducting for Christmas, which was part of the choir. And we have seen Joel play his trumpet today. In fact, we missed him. We missed you, Joel, on Easter Vigil. The trumpets of Easter blast. And then when Blair was singing so beautifully, I was thinking of Betty's beautiful tunes, which she would be able to compose, like, with the greatest ease. It seemed like the greatest ease. She knew a lot of classical tunes, and she would be able to apply those tunes to virtually any beautiful text. So we were doing very early on, about 18, 19 years ago, we were doing a series of presentations on the Gospel of John. And we did not have proper music to introduce each of these passages from the Gospel of John. We wanted to do the whole Gospel in 6 or 7 segments. And they were going to be, we wanted to have somebody chant in Greek, the original Koine Greek. And when I had heard Bette sing earlier on some occasion for some other presentation, and I said, Bette, I think you can do it. She said, I think I can. Yeah. So what should we do? So I told her, look, I'll read out the Koine Greek passages of the Gospel of John. I'll tape them, and you work on them, and then you sing them. So she said, let's try. So I read them out to her. We taped it, and then she worked on it, and she came back, and straight off she presented it, at each of these 6 or 7 presentations in different churches, and they came out so beautiful. She took pains over the pronunciations of the words, and the tunes were simply melodious and beautiful. So that was Bette. So many people have spoken about her gifts for singing and music and all that. It's so true, but it's her spontaneity and her creativity in each of these moments. Bette was, one of the tenets of the Baha'i Faith is that, everybody's holy books are our holy books. Everybody's, sacred texts are our sacred texts. And she took it to heart. So there was an occasion more recently. Yes. We, about sometime in September, October, we began an interfaith online study of the Ramayana. Ramayana is an Indian epic, a Hindu epic, a holy book for Hindus, in Sanskrit. So we were doing that, and she informed her about it. She said, "Oh, when did you begin?" I said, "We have just begun recently and all that." So she said, "I would like to join." And so she joined us for that. It was a monthly session online, and she would take part in it very seriously. So I would, I give the text in advance. I say we are going to be looking at these particular couplets from the Ramayana. I'll be reading them out in Sanskrit, and we'll be looking at the translations. And each person who finds something inspirational about it can speak about it. So she wanted to take part in that, and she would go through that very painstakingly and look through it, and then come back with some comment or some question, or it was something like she really meant that a Hindu text, sacred text, was her sacred text. There was a Hindu lady from Connecticut who was part of this group, and I don't know if she had ever met Betty before when she was here, but she got introduced to Betty. And so she was so happy to see, Betty take part in this. So Mariani, she and this lady and I, so we were 4 people in our group, and now we are 3. But Betty is not there. But she is there, because we spoke yesterday to this lady from Connecticut, the Hindu woman, and she was very shocked and saddened to hear about Betty's passing. So, so what stays with us a lot about Betty is this deep interfaith connection she had, the willingness to take part in anybody's faith expression and to make it her own and build bridges in a very touching kind of way. So we felt that she was part of our movement, part of our lives, and part of our work from the get-go till right now.
She was beyond Baha'i religion. She was a universal person. She loved everybody. My experience of Betty is that she's a wonderful person. There was no word that I can explain about Betty. She's a loving, always smiling. And I couldn't believe, I wrote to her on in the phone, I wrote to her a message after her death. I did not know she was already gone. I wrote to her, I am praying for you. We are praying for you, and love to one. I wrote, not knowing that she was not there in this world. I'm sure she got it up there. That's what I'm thinking.
There was also this remover of difficulty prayer. Just when we heard that she was hospitalized, we began to pray that prayer. And we sent her a message saying that we had been praying for her. She saw the message because the phone showed that she had seen it, but she didn't reply. And there was also a song which the last prayer, the prayer session, which was organized by Ron, where she was very insistent that I should take part in it and I should sing something in Sanskrit. So I did that, and I shared with her a dance, which is beautiful to share in a group like this, even in an online group. And she took it and she said she would use it in subsequent prayer meetings of the Baha'i Faith, Baha'i community in St. Cloud and elsewhere. And in that very prayer session which Ron conducted, she sang one song, and she got all of us involved in it, which was typical of Betty. She wanted everybody to participate and everybody to bring their voices to and actions, movements to the presentation. So that's what we carry with us this morning we thought that there was no particular service or anything today, but by chance, I think Betty drew me to my laptop just before I left for the library. I usually spend a couple of hours there. I was about to go, and suddenly I went and I said, let's see what's there. I said, oh, there's something for Betty going on right now. It was already 10. So she kind of dragged us to this. And I just forgot everything else. I told Marianne, I said, come right now, let's go. Betty's memorial service. We have to be there. So it was Betty again. Thank you so much.
We are so glad to have you here. So glad to have you all. I know, no doubt, we could spend many more hours talking about Betty and her recollections and sharing. I suggest we've been on for an hour and a half, and I think we're going to end at this point in time. Continue to share Betty with everyone that you encounter. I'm sure for the rest of your life, you'll think of her as episodes come up and you encounter some exchange, and Betty's going to come to light in your mind and in your remembrances. At this point, I think we should close with perhaps some final words from the Bartos family. Vern and Ethan, if you want to say a couple final words before we part ways, I'll open the floor to you.
Thank you again for this space. My heart is very full. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, thank you. We will always.
You guys,
thank you, everybody.
You will always remain as part of our family and be in our thoughts and prayers. At this point, then I'm going to close our observance with a unity prayer, and then I'll close out the event. So if you take a pause, I'll begin. Oh my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. Leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily, thou art their helper and their Lord. Thank you all for coming. If you want to continue your experiences, there is an opportunity later this afternoon at 4 o'clock. There is another event going on, a Zoom meeting that you can participate in. The funeral plans are happening on Wednesday, and we have, it is going to be a private ceremony at the funeral home with just family members. At 1:30, we will be having a graveside service, as is the Baha'i tradition, by which the public and the friends are available to participate in if you so desire. Masks will be required and social distancing will be observed. Who knows what the weather will be, but we will be there to lay Betty to rest in North Star Cemetery at 1:30. Thanks again for being here, and we'll see you all again at some future day. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ron and Becky.
Thank you.